Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220, KHTS. Your host, Fred Arnold, on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Before we start our interviews today, which will start in the next segment, I want to share with you an experience I had yesterday at a screening, if you will, or a preview or interview with Martin Scorsese. Now, Martin Scorsese, he's an award-winning, he's a guy with big eyebrows, right? Big glasses, but he's just the most fantastic director. He's directed so many great shows, and I think he's in his 70s now, so his career spanned almost 50 years. And there were some very important things he said and some important messages he had that I want to share with you that I think are absolutely critical when it comes to our lives. The first thing he said, he talked about how he was influenced in film and influenced in and how he made his films. And when he grew up in New York City, I think he said it was Elizabeth Road or the Elizabeth area in New York City. And his room was on the third floor and it faced the street. And he said the great thing about growing up there is he just had to look out his window and it was a microcosm of society. I mean, his whole world was that street. There was a butcher on that end, and then a butcher over there, and then there's a restaurant, and then there's the market. And then there's where his friends lived over there across the street. And it was every little area was a event, was a community happening within the community. And so when he said he was making films, he would try to do that. And he always talked about small spaces because when he grew up, in that small space, all this was going on. So he'd do a lot of filming in small spaces. But it was kind of neat how he took what he learned and he was able to bring it to life on the movie screen. Growing up on the third floor and seeing everything happen, he said a lot of the filming he took it up and filmed downwards. But when it came to a question was asked of him about people, and he said, did you normally use a certain cinematographer? Did you use a certain actor? He said, I always use people that were easy to work with. The ones that were easy to work with, we could figure it out and we could have fun. And he talked about his friend Robert De Niro. Who's Bobby De Niro? Does Robert De Niro have a brother? Oh, he's talking about Robert De Niro. And he talked about so many movies they did together because two things. They grew up together, so they kind of understood each other. But they were easy to work with. The egos were gone and they just had fun. He said a young Leo DiCaprio was the same way. He said he just wanted to learn and they had so much fun. The Wolf of Wall Street, they were talking about filming a scene and how is he going to open the door, and they just had fun with it, and everything they did, they just had fun. He said he loved to work with people and have fun. And think about that in life. Don't we want to be around people that we enjoy being around? Don't we want to work with people we want to work around? Are you that person that other people find fun? Sometimes, so I could be grumpy. Sometimes I could be, focused on work and moving forward 100 miles an hour. And I realized, is that fun? And how am I being to the people around me? And that's something I learned from him. Cinematography. They asked him, what kind of cinematography do you like to do? And he said, I find it hard to film places that are outdoors. And they're like, well, why? Well, because when you grew up in New York, there's no sunlight anywhere. When you're in Southern California or in Utah or in Texas, there's sunlight everywhere. I wasn't used to having sunlight. And it was kind of where he grew up. So he liked filming indoors. He liked filming in small spaces. And he said something that was really, really interesting. He said, sometimes the new technology with these lights and these new bulbs and this new this and this new that, he said, sometimes it was too much. And I think about life sometimes. All the technology we have with smartphones and Google, or what is this, Facebook Live, guys? Facebook Live. All this technology sometimes gets in the way of your work. And so don't ever let it get in the way of your work. See, sometimes he said, I just wanted simplicity. I didn't mind filming when it was a little bit dark or dingy because that's what I was used to. And simplicity was so important. And so cinematography was great. He appreciates them, but sometimes that made it more complex. And the last thing that he said he always went back to his roots, and he always noticed there was good in people. In the movie Goodfellas, there's a guy that he went and he killed somebody, and then 10 minutes later he's having dinner with his mom at the dinner table, and the mom's saying, "Oh, son, how are you? The love of my life. Here, have some pasta." And he's sitting here eating pasta, and his mom loves him to death, but he's a bad guy. And how in life we love each other no matter what. And he also says at the end, the good always comes out in people. The movie Silence that just came out in theaters, he said there's this one scene where they were asking him if he was Christian, one of the actors if he was Christian, and the actor spit on the cross of Jesus and to say that I'm not Christian because he was so scared to be persecuted that he did that, and then he ran, but he always came back to his religion. And how sometimes we make decisions that go off course, but inherently we want to do what's right, and we want to do kind of what we learned at the beginning, the first 5 to 10 years of our life, and we want to do good. And he said people always seem to come back, sometimes later than others. I guess there's a few people that have screws loose that don't, but we always basically come back to who we are and how we were raised, and those formidable years was what it was all about. So great interview with Martin Scorsese. Very, very unarrogant, very humble, very. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed meeting him and the lessons I learned from him in his filmmaking. Go out and see the movie Silence. It's out in movie theaters now, and it's a fantastic movie, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Anyhow, we're going to jump to a quick break, and when we come back, 15 minutes with the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220 KHTS. This is your host, Fred Arnold, on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Last few minutes, I want to give you a little bit of an inspirational story from one of my trips I recently took. But first, I want to read to you some of the thoughts to ponder that I send out on my Friday messages, my Friday market update on what's going on in the market. So they're great thoughts to ponder. One is I'm not afraid of flying. I'm afraid of not flying. Yeah, so true, right? Because if you're not flying and you're flying, you're in trouble, right? Why must, and this is good, and this drives me crazy, why must I prove that I am me when paying my bills? Did someone else call to pay my bills? And if they did, why wouldn't you let them? I'll call. I want to pay a bill. Here's my credit card. Oh, can I verify who you are? What's your password? I don't know what my password is, but I wouldn't be here to pay my bill if, I wasn't the one paying the bill, right? This is a good one. Dear automatic flushing toilet. We have those now, right? Because people that are afraid to touch things. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I wasn't done yet. This was sent to me by my good friend Dave Cantrell. Dave sent that, and we had a laughing moment there. What's even worse is, when you put the paper down, and before you sit down, and the automatic flusher goes and takes your paper, man. Oh, you can laugh at life, right? But this one really got me to think, and it was the secret of success is to go from mistake to mistake without losing your enthusiasm. And that brings me to a quick story I want to tell in the last 2 minutes. I flew home with Norma from Fiji. We get in the car. It was a long flight, 13-hour flight. We get an Uber. Now, Uber is really cool if you know about it at LAX because they don't pick you up like a normal cab. It tells you where to go, and you pick up at the sedan area. And, man, there's a lot of Ubers pulling up. And what a great solution to go 30 miles and pay half the fee of a regular cab, right? So we get in this Uber, and it was a nice cab, nice cleaned up cab. And this gentleman was in the car, had a bit of an accent. And we just created a conversation with him. And I asked him what his name was. And if my memory serves me right, it was Muhammad. And I said, so tell me more about yourself. And he goes, I'm from Iraq. I'm like, wow. And I go, well, tell me about your education. He's telling me that he got a great education there, and he was a cameraman. And I said, well, what brought you here? He goes, I was filming for, I believe it was Reuters. and look at the 2 bullet holes in my head. And you could see his head was cut really short, and there was 2 there. And I go, wow. And he goes, yeah, I came here after I got those 2. I figured it was time for a change. So he came here as the proper way to come here, applied to come here, got in here. And I asked him, and he was driving an Uber. I go, what do you like about this country? And he said something that was really startling to me. He says, everything. There's everything I love about this country. There's nothing I don't like. The freedoms, the freedom of religion, the freedom to do what you want, the freedom to raise your children, the safety. Boy, how many people actually live here, appreciate our country and the freedoms it has, like somebody that has seen some very difficult challenges in life. And I think as I leave you for this hour and we go to the next hour, think about that, man. And how do we deliver that message to our children and to our friends? And part of it is just be enthusiastic every day about who we are and what we do. So anyhow, a lesson from Muhammad. Hope you enjoyed this last hour of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Host Fred Arnold. Always watch us on Facebook Live and hometownstation.com. Till we speak again, make it a great day. Good morning, everybody.